Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Enjoy your stay. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and today we are talking about The Bear, a show that I was adamant, way too adamant, if I might say, about never watching this show because I had a problem with its lead actor. And let's just, here's the thing, okay? We're just gonna say why. I had a problem with the show Shameless. It was like it was very well acted. When they actually were, the exteriors where they actually shot Chicago in the show, that was all really good. There was a definite, I definitely felt like I was there during all that, but it was the characters and the plot that the characters just really rubbed me the wrong way. And the one character that really that I really didn't like was the one played by Jeremy Allen White. And the thing is like all these people on that show were playing those people perfectly. It was the character he was playing that he was doing so well at that I just couldn't stand him. And every time I saw this guy's face, it was like he became this guy so well that I just couldn't differentiate. And every time I'd see his face, I'd just be like, look at that stupid face. And when The Bear came out, I was like, when Shameless finally came and went, and it had its moments, and like, if you like it, there's parts of it I've genuinely liked, but it's just not my thing fully. I'm not gonna get into it here. But because of that, anything with this guy, I just wouldn't watch go anywhere near, because every time I looked at him, I just saw that face and it just reminded me of his character, and I just couldn't watch anything. See, as much as I love to talk about things, and I have my own faults. This is one of them. And I was really way too adamant about just not watching the show, to the point where it was like, yeah, I think everybody gets it at this point, dude. You know what I mean? Like, we'll stop bringing it up if it's going to be like that. Even, and there were a couple of times where I even instigated it to say that I would never watch this show. So at this point, if you still want to hear what I say after I said all that, look, I had to get over myself. I can admit it. I had to get over myself. I needed to let go of all that silly bias about an actor. But there was also the bit about, like, it takes place in a restaurant. But more specifically, it takes place in a downtown Chicago restaurant. It's not some chain. It's a literal, family, mom, pop, passed down to the kids' place. And I've eaten in plenty of places like that. But they're not chains. And that's where my experience to restaurants were. And I was front of the house, not really back of the house. The back of the house was always like another universe. And I pretty much tried to stay out of their way. As long as they stayed out of my way, it was like I had a respect for what they do, And I hoped that they were, by showing them respect for what they did, I think I got respect from them. We just kind of stayed in our lanes, and I think that and I also worked expo. I was pretty good at working expo. I knew how to talk, like I knew that they had a hard job, and so I didn't, ever make them feel like they were less than. I was really good at in customers. I've been in customer service all my life, and I was pretty good at dealing with back of the house. So, but that's what this whole show is like all back of the house and all chaos. And but the restaurant part, being in the restaurant business or working in restaurants for a really long time, it fucked me up. I just recently stopped having like the recurring nightmares that I would have. Like when I have nightmares, folks, I welcome Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. Come get some, baby. I fucking see that shit and I turn it into an action movie. The stuff that scares me is my restaurant dreams. They were like so stressful. They were so like filled with like it felt like you were in hell. Like some hell tailored just for you. And it would be that I'd be the only one working in a crowded restaurant full of employees and people there to eat. And it was just always a nightmare. So the show kind of was like, do I want to watch something that will probably trigger me to like, do I want to risk having those nightmares come back? Because people that like there's all different forms of customer service. Restaurant customer service is a special kind of it takes a special kind of person to want to do it um like privately without becoming a franchise or something like that. um I got to turn my notifications off. And working in that kind of environment, man, you know what, I just like completely spaced on that. So and recording, I mean, franchises aren't even safe anymore. So the mom and pop place, I mean, everybody has had that place that you went to, that you loved, that had some of the best pizza or whatever. And then one day it was just gone. And then another one would pop up. Where I live, they are constantly closing and reopening the same places that have a kitchen over and over and over again. And somebody keeps trying. Somebody keeps doing it. So the premise in the bear, like, even though like in this day and age, still there are people out there that have that desire to do this job. And that's wild to me to choose to do this because especially privately, I mean, trying to make money off of it, it's freaking hard. You would have so anyway, it takes a special kind of person to want to do what they're trying to do in the bear, having this kind of place in the place that it's at with the people that you work with there. Um in my experience, the kitchens and everything were like it was so corporatized that it had there was no like I never worked in kitchens like this kind of chaos that's in here. Um, and so like there's that restaurant aspect of it, and we'll talk more about it because I don't want to just continue to talk about just like the certain things. I want to get to like okay, we've gotten to why I was not really wanting to watch this show. So I get over my Jeremy Allen White thing. All right. I go, I'm going to watch the show. I get over the fact that this might give me nightmares that I finally gotten past. Then there was the whole like, I'm not immune, like how people are like, you got to watch Breaking Bad, you got to watch The Wire, you got to watch there's blah, 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 all the things that you got to watch. You got to watch this. And there's that part too. There's a bit of just like rejecting. I always kind of tend to reject when somebody suggests something to me. And I don't even know why, man. Unless it's like something I already like had planned to watch, that I knew, then it's just for some reason I don't know why I do that. It's stupid. So there was that too. And now when you're looking back on it, as you say it all out loud, it's the cliche of, yeah, when you say it out loud, it sounds pretty stupid. And it is, and it was. And so I didn't watch this show, but I don't mind talking about a show after the fact. In fact, these days I prefer to talk about things after the hype and the criticism and the ridiculousness from different sides of the we all used to just like things or dislike things, and then we'd move on with their fucking lives, No such luck anymore. We're still talking about The Last Jedi, and that movie's probably pushing 10 years old by now. I don't know, like what, 6 or 8, somewhere like around there. Um, I don't like it much either, but stop talking about it. It's like Shatner said in that sketch, and I'm gonna put it up. I'm just gonna put it here somewhere, like the GIF of it or whatever. But you'll get the point. So I sat down and I had to grab a piece of paper and I grabbed my notepad and a pen. And I got ready. I wrote The Bears Season 1, Episode 1, System. And then I realized that I'm not going to talk about this show episode to episode. They're about half an hour long, and I got the gist pretty quickly. It was pretty straightforward. And to me, this is like a slice of life slash mixed with You Are There, Fly on the Wall kind of thing, mixed with just enough story for the characters to chew on, and enough created drama to make this interesting for, I'd say, maybe 3 or 4 seasons. After 4, and if they go on for like 5 or 6, you're going to see the things start to go downhill. But I liked how the first season covers one aspect, and then I looked at the the synopses for the second season that I've not watched, and how it's okay, this happened and now they're going to tackle this for this whole season. I'm like, okay, this looks like it's set up with a certain specific kind of progression, which leads me to believe that they have a plan and that this show wouldn't have to go on and on and on after they beat the premise to death, which is basically, somebody wants to make their old family Italian beef joint like into a bona fide success. The goal is to turn it into something really special and everything else. And it's an underdog story. And who doesn't like an underdog story? Another reason people would like this show. For me, it's so far like I like it. It's fine. It's not anything that's really blown me away. And that's, I being completely honest and fair and balanced and not letting anything bias me. Just alone, was I sitting there enjoying it most of the time? And it is mostly because there is elements to this that were just like a little too close to home for me, partially. I mean, right up front, I wouldn't, with my anxiety and other things, I wouldn't be able to go into this restaurant to order, let alone think about working there ever. Hell no. I couldn't. If I walked in there, I would be walking out, like just immediately turned around after I get a lay of the land. I'd be like out of there. Doesn't matter how good the food is, man. I wouldn't be able to just sit there and be around that chaos, because that's what this show is, man. And it's not organized chaos either. Go visit that YouTube channel, Organized Chaos. This is not organized chaos, though. This is just chaos. And if you're looking for that kind of thing, high energy, like really combative, that's another thing that was hard for me. It's very in your face, it's very combative. And I've been in high stressful situations in a restaurant, but not like to this degree, where even the store itself gets a C. That means chaos. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was like some kind of grade that says like this is like how dirty the place is or something. Or maybe it does mean that, and chaos is just something that they gave it a name to. But that all of that, just when they're in the moment of working in the kitchen, it was just like too much for me a lot of times. It wasn't triggering me, but it was definitely stressing me out. And I was like, okay. Now, all the stuff that was like peripheral to that, when they stopped yelling at each other and there was the actual characters and story, that was a little bit better. Um, Especially because of Ayo Edebiri. She plays Sydney Adamu, the new sous chef for the original beef company store that Jeremy Allen White's Carmen and Aban Moss Backrack, who plays Richie, they co-run this place. And we'll get more into that. But she is a find. Holy moly. I see she's been busy working with other stuff, a lot of Disney and Marvel stuff, which is cool. But her acting in this girl has got a career. She's got an Oscar career headed for her. I am if she doesn't have an Oscar within the next 5 years, I I don't know. I guess she didn't get the right gigs because her acting in this is one of the things that saved it for me. She was the person that I was able to latch onto for the show, and want to follow and see where things go. The family drama that is with Richie and Carmen and their dead brother played by John Bernthal. By the way, I did say spoilers at the front of this, so this is my last time I'll say spoilers just in case you're like, "What? John Bernthal?" This is for people who have watched all of season 1, folks. So John Bernthal's character, Mikey, he was running the restaurant and he was estranged from his brother who was working currently at literally the rated like the number 1 restaurant in the entire world. And he was working there. And there's like bad blood, family stuff, all that. And his brother shoots himself on I think it's the State Street Bridge, kills himself. And instead of leaving the restaurant to his best friend Richie, who worked with him at the restaurant, he gave it to his brother. So you've got you got the thing that I should have gotten storyline to go through. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, gave the t-shirt to, a younger person after, like somebody, like after I couldn't wear it anymore, I handed it down to somebody. That's that plot to me, right? That's how many times I've seen that plot. So I'm like, okay, now I just got to wait for X, Y, and Z to happen, which would be the fuck up, the brother, the best friend, of Mikey, Richie, who's played really well, like, by the way, by, um, Eben Moss Backrack, who I've loved him since I want to say Girls was the first time I saw him, but I think it was before that too. I think because he did a lot of like independent films before like getting stuff like Andor. Um, but I've always really loved his kind of shtick. He's cast well in this kind of role, but at this point, I would really like to see him like again. He's good at this role. Everybody in this is really good at their jobs, but it's just that these characters are just doing a lot of the same things that I've seen before. And that's just old man Rob who's seen a million fucking shows and a million fucking movies. And if it's handled well, like really well, or done something unique with it, then I'm more like, cool. All right. But this is just a paint by numbers. This guy has done what he's had to do and he's made some questionable choices and fucked up in some ways, and you're just waiting for those fuck ups to blow up in his face and then everybody comes back together in the end and they start liking each other again. It's just what we're waiting for. It's the plot. All right. Um The dead brother thing, the guilt and all that stuff is there. Been there, done that. I do like, though, his performance of showing, like, going to the Al-Anon meetings, showing how much that it affected him, their estrangement and stuff. That's really powerful. His acting is like, I didn't like the guy in Shameless because I didn't like the character, and he was really good at playing that character. This, I can relate to his character a lot more. I can relate to him a lot, and it's the plot and the story that they're giving him that's really not doing him, like, I don't want to call it a disservice because I think that it's at least better than what he was doing before. It's just another, what he does with it at least gives it something different. He brings an intensity, he brings a lot of psychological baggage with him that I really, his character in Shameless had also a lot of psychological stuff, but it just came out a different way. And for some reason to me, I just rejected it. But this version of that character, I'm not rejecting for some reason. But it is still by the numbers. You find out that this guy had secrets. Now, those secrets are at least worth it. Finding out he owes money to, 300 grand to, 300 grand to I'm bending my nose a little bit. You can't see that on here. Maybe I'll put an image up of somebody going like that. What they mean, like they're kind of mobbed up. So of course they get, he's got mobbed up money from somebody that they like, and it's, like somebody that's basically family as well, and it's Oliver Platt, and you can't go wrong with Oliver Platt. Oliver Platt has always been one of the most reliable in performances as a character actor for at least the past 40 years since I've been seeing him, since like the early to late 80s, early 90s. The guy has always been, when they bring him up, he's like, he's good in it. The movie might not be the best thing in the world, but he's good in it. And he's doing the same thing here. He's just good. Okay. They just give him a part. He plays it. He plays it well. He's playing a Chicago mafia guy. So, he's kind of got a little bit of this, but not the forceful kind. That makes it sound like, the satirical or parody stuff that you'd see on SNL where they go, "Da bears." And that there's anything wrong with that. So that part of the plot is just kind of weak, but it's his intensity that he brings that I can get behind. The drive that he has to be the best, to want to succeed, to want to make something great. All of that shit I can get behind. And you've got a nice little cast of characters for the kitchen. I especially like Elboy as Marcus. I like all of them, really. Edwin Lee Gibson is Abraham. I like him. Okay, Liza Colon Zayas, Tina Marrero. She took a minute for me to get behind because it's the plot, not the actors. The actress is doing great. It's the I've been doing things my whole life. Some kid come and tell me how to do my job. And look, it's a cliche because it's true. It happens, but it's just it's that kind of role, that kind of part where you go, okay, we just get over it. And another thing is I didn't see a lot of that in my experience, the like animosity between like old and young as far as the kitchen goes ever. But again, corporate kitchen versus privately owned kitchen with more egos to go unchecked. Yeah, everybody. Corey Hendricks, Jose Cervantes, Richard Esteras. He's just like he plays the dishwasher, and even he gets like a couple of great moments. Maddie Matheson is Neil Fack. I liked him a lot. Chris Witowski, and this is Pete. And then freaking Molly Ringwald comes out of nowhere. Molly Ringwald as the moderator for the Al-Anon place. And I was like, I just did 16 Candles. It's on the channel, folks. Look up 16 Candles if you want to hear my thoughts on a movie I didn't see from 40 years ago. She's in this. Joel McHale was in this as like the New York City chef that like Carmen's, studied under. And it was one of the best scenes I'd ever seen Joel McHale fucking do in his career. And he only had one scene. It's what you can do, man. Like I love Community, by the way, but I'm talking outside of Community. This is one of the best scenes I've ever seen him do. All right. I'm looking over the cast to make sure that I'm not missing anything else before we move on. I didn't see Robert Townsend. I don't know how I missed him. Things that I really liked was the reminder of all the service industry terms that I had forgotten, but they were like there instantly pulled to the front of my brain, where it was like herd, corner, hands, sense of urgency, behind, 86, like calling out like certain like numbers, and it was just like, holy shit. I haven't waited a table in 3 years. It's going to be 20 years. That's insane to me because it feels like yesterday. And it's probably, mostly because of the dreams that I still had. But I worked at a Panera after 2007, so maybe that kind of still counts. And I worked there till like 2015, so I wasn't waiting tables, but I was in a kitchen. I was like kind of the head prepper and stuff there, and the line guy. Oh my god, I must have blacked out my entire Panera career for a second. But all of that stuff that's in here was great. I loved all of that. The freaking knives. The freaking knives left out. Okay, so I'm not the only one. I have almost been stabbed so many times by people leaving knives out. That shit's accurate. Holy crap. People just leaving stuff wherever. Oh my gosh. I like that also one of the things I don't like is people who aren't from Chicago don't need to hear all the Chicago references. If they're there for the people that live there, like that watch the show and want to be appreciated, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. It's calling it out way too many times, all the different places and things. And it's like, yes, that's cool. I know that, but like be like Cheers. It doesn't, like let the environment be the backdrop and be the thing that can, like knowing that there are certain types of like every city has its own vibe. Let the vibe carry it, not the like the places. It just felt like it was everywhere. But there was one that I heard that I was like really tickled with when they brought up DeVry. We're serious about success. I laughed out loud for that one. And I'm probably just being cynical about the whole like name dropping every place in Chicago that it's like, we got to take the Edens from over there. And it's like, yes, for everybody out there that lives in Illinois and especially Northern Illinois, we can all like do the Leonardo DiCaprio thing. That's me. That was me. Look at that right there. Let's see. The soundtrack, amazing soundtrack. The Rage Against, one of the particular highlights was like a couple of the highlights from the first episode was when they did Rage Against the Machine's Bulls on the Parade, but with an orchestra. Holy crap. When I finally realized what song was being played and it was Rage, I was like, hell yeah. And then when they blasted Pearl Jam's Animal, like I've heard that song plenty of times, but at the way that they hit it at the end of the first episode with the energy coming off of the first episode, you just hear those. It was like, yes. But they also have bands like Wilco and the Breeders and Counting Crows and the Talking Heads and REM. And there's just a lot of stuff for a Gen Xer to listen to. And just anybody who's a music fan, period. There's lots going on in this soundtrack. The letter from Mikey. that Richie puts back. That was another thing. There was just like, okay, we now know about the letter. When's they gonna give it to him? We don't, and it's like, well, that seems like a season finale thing, and sure enough, it was. The putting it back where he found it, though, man, wow! Like the layers that Richie has in this, like he's so. See, the thing about, like I say, the tired kind of plot lines is elevated again by the actors. So while I find the plot to be yes, same old, it's how those characters and those actors perform that stuff that still can make it special. And even though Richie is like that fuck up character, his way of doing it, um, having so much like just under the surface insecurities where he's ready to like, like just unload his what's really wrong with him. I mean, he's on Xanax, he's on anti-anxiety medication. But the way he plays it and then does that whole thing with the letter and then gives it back to him at the end was great. Trying to get past all of it. So now all I really have left is like episode stuff. And like I said, the kitchen stuff had me going crazy. How are they going to come up with the money stuff? Like, how are they going to fix things? How are they going to do all that? I liked the progression of, seeing the kitchen start to make strides. How it would happen if people really do adopt like a new way of doing things and they stop fighting it. But you also see the easing in progression. It's not like overnight that these things happen. But I like the slow progression of this place starting to become something special again, and being inspired by how they're starting to be inspired by it, and that they're able to start putting away their own biases, kind of like I had to do just to watch the show. But a lot of this stuff just to me was like, yeah, this plot and this plot, they have to figure out a way to get open. Some new thing is about to screw up their day. And if you can believe that, like, happens every day. Like, when most days in a restaurant, things just go according to plan. But again, these were corporate places. So I feel like the wild card is still in the mom and pop place where shit can go crazy. So again, I had to, like, since my only reference to it is from a corporate restaurant standpoint, I gotta just let that go. Let this all go. The making of the ecto cooler with the Xanax was funny. That whole episode was pretty good. Again, watching the characters progress, especially the sous chef. Pulling up the cast again. Sydney's character, seeing her get like closer to the other people in the restaurant was great. Because of how like contentious it was at the beginning. Abby Elliott as Carmen's sister. I don't think they gave her enough to do, and I do think yet again it was just that character. Nobody paid attention to me. Nobody gave me a phone call. Family stuff. But again, she plays it great. But I don't think she got much to do in this, but just be that character. All the different street stuff and how they handle all of that was all fun and done really well. All the like the local finding out that Richie's dealing outside the back of the place. Him basically almost killing a guy, but he's still up for like aggravated assault. Is that going to be a thing that's carried over? I don't know. I honestly thought he killed that guy. And I was like, man, the show's tone just got really much more darker than I thought it was going to get. But in the end, the other secret is what was going on with Mikey and them getting that flashback. And I could see the problem there. And you could also see how the characters are reacting off of this person and what a big role he had in their lives, but them not seeing what I could see And maybe they could see it, but they were in denial of it. But like he was really messed up, and there was an energy that was wrong about it. And when they finally get the letter, and he reads it, and it's the thing that he always says, and then there's the recipe on the back, and that was nice. And the thing with the fucking cans, though, how did like I guess we'll find out next season. I kind of cheated and found out, he was doing this for tax purposes, but like all the money in the cans, that was insane. Um, and yeah, I mean, look, this isn't gonna be like in like 8 years or so, or 4 years or 5 years or so, that somebody goes, "Are you gonna revisit this show?" No, I might talk about the second season. I'll probably talk about the entire second season, but I feel no real need to break it down episode to episode. I think I gave a pretty succinct like viewpoint on the first season. The vibes of Chicago are there. It's way more than they did for Shameless, that just did some exteriors and stuff. They did, and they filmed a lot of them. Like I guess they only would come out for a week or two and then just do it all. But this show is basically all Chicago, and that I can really appreciate. I like when they bring the whole production to somewhere. It does really lend to making it authentic. So I got to give it up to the creators of this, that they are really trying to make a Chicago show. And I'll say also this: I'd rather watch this than Chicago Fire, PD, or all the other Chicago shows that are out there right now. Mostly, I don't even know how many there are, but all those procedurals and crap that are on like network TV, I'd rather watch this than that. So keep an ear out for season 2. I might just binge watch that whole thing and then talk about it like maybe in the next week or so, but we'll see. Otherwise, keep an eye out for I'm going to be finishing the Terror Infamy. There's going to be plenty more comic book stuff and a whole lot a whole lot of other stuff coming. But I'm done like telling people early about things and then I flake out and don't do it. So, but there is a lot of stuff coming, just as long as the more privacy I have to record, the more content I'll make. So have a great one. Be good to each other out there, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye. Ba, 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.